It's here, just people don't notice it.
We see it on a regular basis.
Fort Wayne, Indiana, shocked me.
It can happen to anybody, any race, any religion, any gender.
We don't think it's here. We think it's third world underdeveloped countries, and that's not true at all. It's here in Indiana, it's Fort Wayne, Huntington.
If you allow yourself to be educated and you open your eyes and understand what trafficking really looks like, then you'll never be able to deny it again.
Last year, the Fort Wayne Police Department investigated 15 cases of sex trafficking. 11 victims in those cases, 23 people arrested. In a joint operation with the FBI, the department also helped rescue 3 more underage girls from sex trafficking.
What do those numbers say to you?
I think it's surprising, and also that it's probably something that's even bigger than what we even realize. Probably just really the tip of the iceberg.
Our numbers on human trafficking are probably well under what they really are because we don't really know.
How big a problem is human trafficking in Northeast Indiana?
It's one of our largest, fastest growing crimes. The one thing that our investigators are finding is that gangs are now realizing that they can sell a drug once, but they can sell a child 3 or 4 times in a day.
Not all, but most sex trafficking involves women or girls forced into prostitution or pornography.
We have a lot of local pimps that live right here in Fort Wayne. And, you know, we use the word pimp and everybody, they picture, you know, leisure suits and big puffy hats. It's anybody. It's just a businessman is all it is.
The FBI's been targeting sex trafficking in Fort Wayne for the last 3 years, working undercover operations to try to help girls get out and take down the traffickers.
I can guarantee there is no hotel in Fort Wayne that we have not been to or had an operation in. It'll happen everywhere and anywhere. At the beginning of last year, over the course of a month, we started working into 4 different cases of human trafficking. So in the span of 3 months, we had 8 girls that we were dealing with, and they were all underage.
It can start many different ways. Girls often groomed over social media. Traffickers make them feel special and wanted, will even buy dinners and presents.
And then all of a sudden, hey, you've got to do this for me. And then when she doesn't, he either beats her or has somebody else beat her. And then she's so afraid for her life that she doesn't really have an option. And some women, it's very difficult for them to get out of that.
You know, they will find ways to manipulate you and brainwash you into thinking that you're the girlfriend, you're more important than the other girls, this is just how it is. Using other girls to say, hey, I've been doing this for X number of years, it's really not that big a deal.
One Fort Wayne case involved a teenager who ran away from home. She put on Facebook she needed a ride. Within 6 hours of getting picked up, she was prostituting.
Prostituted with 3 people until they met with us when we finally were able to stop it, and we got on it quickly. I mean, it was that next morning we saw it and we acted on it. As fast as we saw those pictures, we thought, she's underage, we need to get her like now. So we were the first date for the morning, so we stopped it quickly.
How misunderstood is sex trafficking?
I think the perception is most women want to be doing what they're doing.
I could tell you I've talked to all of them, and none of them wanted to do this, but they got stuck.
Post-advertising girls can be found all over the internet. One of the more popular sites, Backpage, was recently censored by the government.
It's a good message to bring awareness, which is obviously why a lot of things have been upticking, is there's a lot more awareness in human trafficking. So it is a nice thing to bring awareness, and maybe in the end, it'll bring up more support.
But awareness starts in the community, and everyone acknowledging when something doesn't seem right.
People look at it and say, oh, that doesn't seem right, but then they cast it off because they're busy with what their day is, so they don't realize what they just saw.
Do they have hotel keys? Do they have an excessive amount of money? Who are they with? Are they hanging with people that appear too old to be their boyfriend or girlfriend, but too young to be a parent? Other things like, how do they behave around them? Are they really open and honest about what's going on? Or are they very guarded in what they talk to you about? If that person is around and you ask them what they did today and they can't tell you without asking for permission, there's a problem there.
Every Thursday this month, we will continue our series showing you ways you can protect your children, the hidden pitfalls of social media, and the challenges law enforcement can face combating sex trafficking.
Human trafficking is complex trauma. It's a trauma that's happened over and over and over. It's not a single rape. The response and what happens is so different. Real estate businesses, if somebody doesn't have the funding.
Katie Roche is a budding entrepreneur
And kind of time period.
creating her own consulting company of generating credible leads for small businesses.
And find out what it is that they need, what kind of product they have and they sell, and then they get a batch of actual appointments instead of leads.
There was a time in your life, though, that you probably could not have envisioned the person who's sitting here today.
Definitely. There were some really dark times in my life. One when I was actually experiencing hell on earth.
Katie's parents split up, her mom moving her to another state. In the summers, she'd go back to visit her dad's side of the family in Oregon.
During that time, I started being, molested and sexually abused by a family member.
The next summer, Katie's uncle recruited her cousin to help him. She was only 8 years old. So was her cousin, and he became her trafficker.
Exploitation that took place online, this was 12 years ago. Chat rooms were basically the thing. He would present me, having me type, or him typing, pretending to be me. People would ask for specific things. They wanted pictures. He would provide what they wanted, and then came to a point where he realized I can get more out of this. And so that just kind of evolved into selling sex.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. You've likely heard of those social media sites. But how about Kik or Yik Yak or Chat Roulette? All of them could be places predators solicit your kids, and you could have no idea they're being targeted.
It takes 24 hours to traffic a kid from the time they meet them online. 24 hours.
It can happen to anyone. Meeting up with someone from social media, and then they might disappear.
Post, like, comment, share. Social media is a big part of people's lives, especially America's youth.
Well, social media isn't evil itself, but it can be used for evil.
Social media has opened up access.
Social media is designed to connect people, but it also makes it easier for predators to connect with their next victim.
Before, you'd have to go sit in front of schools and places where kids would play, so that you could find kids that were out there that you could watch and maybe see if they were susceptible. Now you can just hop online and you've been friends with somebody. You see they're out there and someone just takes it upon themselves to see if they can prey on them.
Anyone you don't know in the real world is a stranger.
We wouldn't let strangers into our house. Why are we letting them into these kids' phones?
Many cases of sex trafficking start online and seem harmless at first.
People that want to hear that they're special and beautiful or handsome and smart, all the things that we want to hear, well, why wouldn't they say that to you? They're going to tell you that. Do they believe it? Probably not.
It's called grooming. Traffickers will monitor posts, pick their target, and prey on their weaknesses.
Traffickers look for naive children, and they look for kids who are needy. If they're talking about they're sad and they're depressed, well, that's a kid I can recruit. I can get to that kid. I can find a way into their life. I can make them feel better. I can tell them, oh, you want to be a model? I'll make you a model.
If you put on there everything your parents don't understand and it's out there, how easy is it for me to pop up online and say, well, it doesn't have to be like that. I'll get your nails done. I'll get your hair done. You'll eat 3 times a day. You'll eat 4 times a day if you want. I'll give you a warm place to stay, nice hotels.
For the last month, we've shown you how serious a problem sex trafficking is.
It's happening all around us every day, and it's time to stop ignoring it. Tonight, 15 Finds Out investigator Alyssa Ivinson continues our exclusive series, Hidden Predators, and digs deeper into what we can all do to help stop it.
As long as there's a demand for human trafficking, there's going to be human trafficking.
It's happening in urban settings and rural settings. It happens to boys and girls, men and women of all ages.
If they see something, say something.
We have a good community here. We don't want this going on here. Citizens can help us.
Whether we want to believe it or not, human trafficking is happening here, and it's happening now. People forced into labor or the sex trade against their will.
Is it ever going to stop?
I think education is a really big key. I don't know that it'll ever stop, but I hope that we can have make a dent in that.
Do you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle?
I know what we're doing is good work, and we can't be everywhere all the time, but when we do focus on one thing, we can typically make a difference.
Society is starting to fight back.
Human trafficking is the buzzword right now, and that we're trying to educate people more and more on this issue, and the more we educate, the more the word gets out.
You don't have to be in law enforcement or in social work to have direct contact with these people. And if you're only aware, then you truly can do something to stop it.
History of abuse or neglect.
The Indiana Trafficking Victims Assistance Program holds education days for agencies across the state, like the one put on by Allen County Superior Court and Great Kids Make Great Communities just yesterday.
First off, they know how to identify victims and then what to do when they do identify victims. And what we are seeing is that the more training that we do, the more reports we are seeing.
As people recognize that what they're seeing is actually trafficking, reported cases in Indiana went up 37% last year, but it's still estimated that only 1 to 2% of sex trafficking cases ever get reported.
When you see it up close and personal, it really is impactful, and you feel for that child.
The courts are getting educated too. The Allen County Juvenile Center even created a new screening tool last March to better detect victims of trafficking.
To make sure that we were identifying and getting them the services that they needed.
We want to help that child. We want to rehabilitate that child. Our focus then is to find services for that child.
There were also changes in Indiana law last year.
There's now a special category of recognizing that juveniles that are engaging in juvenile prostitution acts or trafficked children. We recognize that they are victims, not perpetrators. And as a result, there's a whole category now of a child in need of services.
And a bill in the State House right now could remove convictions from a juvenile's record for acts performed while the child was being trafficked. It just passed the Senate unanimously.
It's a pretty high awareness that this is a special interest and special concern on a statewide level from the top down.
Education extends to the hospitality industry, hotel staff, from the front desk to housekeeping, getting training on what to watch for.
People going in and out of the room all hours of the night.
And when to call police.
It's really important. It's something that we didn't even think about before, but we definitely do now.
Awareness campaigns on the highways.
Educate truck drivers to what's going on. We can prevent this from the high-risk areas like the truck stops and the rest parks. You're aware last month was the human trafficking month, right?
Nonprofit group Truckers Against Trafficking and Highway Patrol in Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio teamed up for an education blitz, giving drivers more than 3,000 brochures and wallet cards with warning signs and the number to report trafficking.
Just trying to give them a little more information on somebody they can call other than law enforcement, because a lot of times people are hesitant to come out and call us first. They want to help, but sometimes they want to help and not really be involved.
If they could recognize potential victims when they see it and then report it effectively, imagine how many more victims could be recovered.
To see it firsthand, 15 Finds Out rode along with an Indiana state trooper.
We just want to make sure that you know how to report it, and if you see it, to make sure that you are reporting it.
And talk to truckers who are happy to get the information.
They should educate the drivers.
We're out here, we hear about it every day.
So if you guys saw something at a truck stop, would you call the 800 number?
Oh yeah, for sure.
They need to understand that, hey, I'm looking at domestic sex trafficking and I need to actually stand up and make a call on behalf of this victim when they can.
It's not right. And if it was your kid or if it was your sister, would you be mad if someone didn't say something?
But to really stop sex trafficking, awareness also needs to reach the buyers.
It's the consumers that we have the biggest problem with, because if you could stop the people from consuming it, then there wouldn't be a need for it. If we could get one person who's watching this to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore, that's one less time that girl they were going to call is going to get raped. That's the biggest thing that stops it.
Now, right now on Wayne.com, you can get the Truckers Against Trafficking wallet cards and see myths versus facts about human trafficking. Here's the national hotline to call if you need help right now, 888-373-7888. And tonight at 7, the conversation continues with a panel discussion live streamed on Wayne.com. It's your chance to ask experts your questions about human trafficking.